Hi and welcome to Moich.nl Tea Culture Club. My name is Dima and today we're going to talk about something extraordinary, the GABA tea variety. I'm going to explain what GABA is, talk a bit about the effects and the taste, but that's going to be in a couple of seconds. So without further ado, let's get right into the content. So let's first try and taste this wonderful tea. Here you have a pretty minimal setup for what we do, right? Just a teapot, a gaiwan and a gongdabe. And if it's one of the first videos you're watching, we take tea pretty seriously, and the way we steep it is by using very short infusions but having a lot of them in pretty small infusion teaware, right? So this is a gaiwan, which actually means gai, cup, wan, lid. No, actually, gai is lid and wan is cup. And then we get it straight from the gaiwan to the gongdabe, which is the cup of fairness, which you then pour into the cups, right? And this little teapot is there to accompany us on that process, and we can focus on it and on its beautifulness. All right, so let's choose a tea we can taste first. Just a bit more about what the different GABA teas can be. Often you see GABA in oolong format, right? So, for example, our Alishang is a light GABA oolong, right? While our Ruby GABA oolong is a dark oolong. And they both have the tag GABA, but they're actually very different in taste. So let's take this hypothetical light and dark oolongs and talk a bit more about them. So when you have a light oolong, you get a much more of an airy and fresh taste, right? It's more comparable to notes of apple, maybe a bit of dried fruit and other citrus-like flavors and aromas. A bit more vegetable, a bit more floralness, right? Than in many different teas. So they are very bright. And what GABA adds to that in its taste is a bit of sourness. So you get a very surprising and refreshing sourness, which you can almost compare to freshly baked bread, right? Or oatmeal cookies. And together they create a wonderful taste experience, which is just not like nothing you've ever tasted before, even if you're a seasoned tea drinker. And now let's continue on to the dark oolongs, which are far more deep and rich, right? So their tastes are both very bright, but if we're gonna, for example, take a Ruby GABA oolong, you're gonna feel a lot of dark chocolate in there, maybe even some smokiness, right? And also, this could remind you of coffee. So if you're a coffee drinker looking to get into tea, looking to get into very, very, very healthy tea, more on that in the effects tab, this could be a great one for you. Because it isn't like weak tea, right? Sometimes people are like, why is tea so weak and why is there no taste in it? But here you won't find that at all. It will hit you like in a very delicate and wonderful way, but it will be definitely present. Let's do the first infusion actually to wash this tea. That's something we do to open up the tea and its aromas a bit. Sometimes you can skip that, sometimes you cannot. It varies differently per tea, but I believe we have some other video talking about that. I'll link it if I can find it. And you see that this first infusion is quite light, right? So we throw it out, and the next one is going to be wonderful, full and open. So right now, even in the aroma, you can feel a lot of chocolatey notes coming through. It really, for first, if you smell it for the first time, it can be quite amazing that a tea can have this level of body, you know, especially if you're coming from coffee and you've never actually tasted a good quality Taiwanese oolong before. So we've talked a lot about the aroma. Let's get on to the taste. Oh wow, yeah, it's very deep and you feel it in your whole mouth, right? So especially with this one, you get a bit of sourness and it's like a very good cocoa, you know? Very broad in its tastes. So what you get with a very cheap tea, for example, is that it has just one taste. It's just maybe like some green teas from the supermarket, right? Maybe like light with a bit of bitterness. But this has an array. And while you will keep infusing it, it will open in very different ways, right? So the GABA shines through in here like the oatmeal cookies, and that complements the dark nature of this tea very well. And its mouthfeel, it has some texture, you know? So it's not like you're drinking water, you're actually drinking something with a bit of a texture to it. So that's also amazing about it. So in taste, oolongs like this are super recommendable. And you will definitely experience something new. It doesn't matter if you're new to tea or if you're already seasoned, because this is already a great tea for beginners, because you will also feel the wonderful effects that will come with it. So right now it's a great moment to transition to that part of the story, because the effects is why many people like to drink great GABA teas. And now let's touch on the effects that GABA has on your mind and body, because they're very interesting and very broad. But before we do that, we would have to talk a bit about how GABA tea is actually made, and maybe also about what GABA actually means. So let's first get on to that. GABA means gamma aminobutyric acid, and it's an enzyme, or actually a neurotransmitter inside of your brain. And it's responsible for managing and regulating anxiety, for example, and your mood. So a deficit of GABA is actually quite dangerous. It may, well, they don't have a deficit of GABA, so that's great, because it may feel leave you feeling depressed or feeling a bit off, you know. And it also helps, consumption of this tea helps you to get into a focused, how I call it, a focused, relaxed zone, because you can really study, for example, or really do some work with it, but still be quite relaxed while doing that, right? While coffee gets you all riled up, this is a bit of a different focus. But let's return to the process of making GABA tea. You achieve this the formation of this neurotransmitter through
someone is really under the GABA.
You achieve the formation of this enzyme, or the transition of the enzymes that are in tea into GABA through the process called anaerobic fermentation. So normally fermentation takes place with oxygen, of course, but in the 80s there has been a process discovered on how to do this and how to achieve this result through fermentation with very little oxygen, or actually nitrogen. So you get vacuum chambers with where the tea is inserted into, right? So you see this tea is already rolled, for example, and then it ferments for about 3 to 4 hours, actually. And then the enzymes that are naturally found in tea get transformed into GABA. And then you can infuse that and get a natural supplement of GABA, which is quite unique, because you can find GABA, of course, but in different supplements, but those are pills and not real products. So this is very unique, and this can help you to not have a deficit of GABA, which is quite nice. Furthermore, you can actually experiment with drinking this tea in the evening, because it can lead to, for example, having lucid dreams, right? And it kind of lifts you up into a very different mood or mindset. It's great to drink while talking to your friends and family, because you kind of notice that you start talking about other things. It's great as a social tea, actually, and it really brings the whole group together. In my experience, in the experience of our tea club, it's amazing for that. So, having talked about the extensive effects of GABA, we can also talk a bit about the different GABAs we have in store. So now, after having rested a bit and recovered from the GABA relaxation I was just in, let's continue and talk about the GABAs we actually have in store. So here you see a couple of them, right? The Ali Shang, for example, the GABA Sheng pu-erh, and also the Krasnodar red GABA tea. And they're very interesting, each in their own way. So if you want to read up more about them after this short introduction, you can always check out the description on the site. But for example, to start with, the Ali Shang and the Ruby are both Taiwanese oolongs, and that's a great category we have. So we have a lot of amazing GABA teas from the Taiwanese high mountains. And the Ali Shang, for example, comes from the highest mountains in Taiwan, right? So it's the Ali Shang, because Shang also means mountain, and Ali actually means pear, I believe. And the thing is with those teas, they're regarded as one of the best you can have, right? Taiwanese teas are in general very highly regarded in the tea world, and definitely these ones we have selected the greatest ones for GABAizing, basically. But we also have some teas from Krasnodar. So for example, the Krasnodar red GABA tea and the GABA Sheng pu-erh are both amazing, and it's very interesting, for example, to experiment on yourself with the GABA Sheng to see how it reacts with your body, because GABA is, as you maybe saw in the previous segment, pretty relaxing, while Sheng is actually an energy bomb. So you can check how that works, and maybe it will lead you to achieve an even calmer, energized state. And the Sheng has a very interesting, soft but juicy taste, right? The red GABA here is quite oolongy in its taste, so it has a very bright palate, right? And it's amazing to drink after dinner, for example, because it almost has desert-like notes. So you can definitely try it out, for example, when you come to our club, or if you can order a sample online. We also like to give samples with your order, so if you would like to have one of these to try, it's definitely an option. You can just put it into comments, and we would be glad to accommodate it. This is some of the GABA hiccups still going on, you know, very relaxed. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. It was amazing to show you and tell you and maybe let you experience a bit of the GABA state. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us on Instagram, email, or in a comment down below. And if you would like to taste one of these, come by to our club or order a sample online. So if you would like to see more of this kind of content, also please subscribe, and we would appreciate it with all our hearts if you could leave a like. So with that being said, thank you for watching, and see you in one of the next videos or in our club. Bye bye.